In the languid folds of the morning, Brookside, Delaware unfurled itself like a small-town postcard. Unblemished by the voracious maw of urban sprawl, it clung to its idyllic charms with a stubbornness as endearing as it was quaint. It was here, amid the slowly rusting railroads and the dozing sunflower fields, that Mark Sullivan kept his office, a converted grain silo that bore the stamp of his unconventional spirit. A solitary figure, Mark cut through the morning mist, his worn leather shoes whispering secrets to the cobbled path. His reflection, brief and fractured, flitted over the dew-kissed windows of the town's slumbering establishments. It was a face that bore the weight of years and sorrows past. A man shaped by tragedy, his spirit fortified by empathy, his heart emboldened by relentless curiosity. Settling into the rhythm of the day, he began sifting through his caseload. The pages of human folly and strife were as diverse as they were numerous. Every wrinkle in every word whispered tales of lost cats, unfaithful spouses, and small-town conspiracies. Yet, as his hazel eyes flitted across the sea of narratives, one peculiar case snagged his attention. It was the Brookside Homeless Shelter, a humble outpost of compassion amidst the town's wistful charm, plagued by a series of baffling thefts. The stolen items bore no monetary value: worn-out prayer books, tattered blankets, and well-thumbed novels. Yet the pleas for help etched into the margins of the police report hinted at a deeper terror, a silent scream echoing beneath the mundane. His heart clung to this case. It wasn't the baffling nature of the thefts, but the palpable fear threaded within the victims' accounts. He could taste their dread, the sharp tang of inexplicable terror, a flavor he recognized all too well from a chapter of his own past left to gather dust. His decision made, he stood, his bones echoing their protest. A sigh slipped from his lips, a quiet promise whispered to the spirits haunting his conscience, a promise to dig, to unearth, to shine the light into the shadows of Brookside's homeless shelter. His footfalls echoed into the midday sun, a requiem for his peaceful morning as the foreboding silhouette of the shelter loomed in the distance, and with it the promise of unsettling revelations. As he crossed the threshold, a chill gripped him, slithering up his spine, and the musty air seemed to tighten around his lungs. The dull fluorescent light flickered, casting long, treacherous shadows, the whispers of forgotten prayers lingering in the silence. With a deep breath, he stepped further into the dim light, his pulse marching in tandem with the hushed symphony of dread that Brookside had begun to sing. As the midnight hour neared, Mark's world merged with the intimate whispers of Brookside's moonlit hush. His office, bathed in the soothing ethereal glow, housed his contemplation and the echoes of his past that lingered between each breath. A monochrome photograph upon his desk bore testament to the silent ache he harbored. A picture of him and his late wife, Emma, frozen in a shared moment of sun-dappled joy. Her absence was a void in his heart, a wound that time had neither healed nor dulled. Each night, as the moon climbed the celestial staircase, memories of Emma became his lullabies, the specter of her smile cradling his fractured spirit. But tonight, the photograph was veiled in the shadow of the homeless shelter's case files, their pages ripe with cryptic murmurs and the panic-laden testimonials of Brookside's forgotten souls. To unearth the roots of this peculiar terror, he journeyed into the heart of Brookside, seeking counsel with the town's eldest, Mrs. Albright. Her humble dwelling, embroidered with age and countless tales, welcomed him into its warm embrace. The air, heavy with the scent of time-worn pages and cinnamon tea, cradled their conversation. "What happens isn't natural, Mark," she'd whispered, her voice a fragile wisp. "There's an unease among them, like lambs scenting the wolf. The things they've lost, it's not just about their worldly worth. Those items tethered them to sanity, a sanctuary from the world's cruel apathy." Her words, riddled with an ominous undercurrent, hung in the air, intertwining with the ghosts of his buried trauma. His empathy, a beacon in the murkiness of human plight, resonated with her fears, acknowledging the lurking presence of a dread far greater than mere thefts. The day surrendered to dusk as he retraced his steps to the shelter, armed with a keener perspective and an unflinching resolve. Upon his late-night arrival, he beheld an unsettling tableau under the spectral luminescence of the moon. Beneath the gnarled branches of an ancient elm tree, several figures huddled together, whispering primal chants into the chill of the night. The faint glow of the moon unveiled their faces. They were the residents of the shelter, their eyes vacant, their spirits eclipsed by an unseen terror. The sight sent shivers cascading down his spine, the very air seeming to recoil from the tree, as if it harbored an ancient curse. His heart pounded, each beat a drum heralding the descent into a world unseen, a cosmic horror waiting to unfurl itself. As the eldritch chants echoed into the night, he was left standing on the precipice of an abyss. He had only to take a single step forward, a step that would lead him deeper into the strange heart of Brookside, forever severing his ties with the mundane. It was the dawn of a chilling revelation. The shadows in Brookside had teeth, and they hungered for more than mere possessions. Mark's world was no longer bound by the comforting simplicity of his quaint town. As dawn wove itself into the tapestry of Brookside's skies, he found himself trudging through the town's archival library. This repository of knowledge was more than a mere collection of information. It was Brookside's heart, its pulse reverberating in every parchment, every cryptic folklore, every whispering echo of the town's secrets. His journey through the labyrinth of Old Town records painted an uncanny picture. A forgotten fragment of Brookside's history emerged, dating back centuries, of a group rumored to have practiced unspeakable rituals, their deeds veiled by night and fear. The records danced around the mention of their dark deity, an entity from beyond the realm of human understanding. It was a cosmic abomination to which they offered human despair, a feast of emotions to sustain its otherworldly existence. Time seemed to warp around him as he delved into this eldritch reality, his senses assaulted by the horrific implications. The taste of fear lay heavy on his tongue, its metallic tang a reminder of his frail humanity against the vast, indifferent cosmos. Yet it was not fear that ignited his spirit, but his innate kindness. His heart echoed with the silent pleas of the dwellers of the shelter, urging him forward into the darkness. A visit to the shelter, however, introduced a new layer of grotesque revelation. He arrived to find chaos, a missing dweller. An elderly woman named Agnes, known for her faded rosary and her faith in the divine, had disappeared without a trace. Her bed was a pitiful sight, the sheets still molded into her shape, her rosary laying abandoned. Mark couldn't shake off the eerie coincidence of her vanishing with the desecrated items of faith and the ancient cult's unholy practices. His suspicions were further fueled by a chance encounter with a shelter resident, a man named Eddie. A conversation cloaked under the guise of a friendly chat revealed an unnerving account. Eddie, eyes wide and voice barely a murmur, told tales of haunting nightmares plaguing the residents, dreams of being chased by an unending darkness, of their hopes and dreams devoured by a monstrous entity lurking in the shadows. His world was teetering on the brink of madness. The shelter, the thefts, the cult, and the eldritch deity all knotted together into a terrifying tapestry. Armed with this knowledge, he knew he was stepping into a war, one waged not in the physical realm, but in the shadows and corners of reality. The world had transformed around Mark Sullivan. Brookside was no longer a haven of tranquil simplicity. Instead, it hid an abhorrent truth beneath its idyllic veneer, a truth that now clawed at the edges of his sanity. His world had shifted on its axis, the lines between the ordinary and the monstrous blurring into an indistinguishable swirl of cosmic dread. His first challenge was to unmask the cult's members, those leading the shelter's residents into the clutches of this unknowable entity. He embarked on a treacherous journey, weaving his way through the labyrinth of deceit and danger, careful to remain unnoticed. Each revelation left a vile taste in his mouth, an imprint on his soul. But the true battle lay in the realm of his mind, where his worst fears were wielded as weapons. Nightmares began to seep into his waking hours, grotesque visions of a formless terror consuming his world, the monstrous deity casting its shadow over his sanity. It was his relentless pursuit of the truth that eventually led him to the cult's sanctum, an underground labyrinth beneath the shelter. The air within was thick with dread, the walls etched with cryptic symbols that seemed to pulse in the sickly dim light, an abhorrent homage to the cosmic entity they served. As the penultimate reckoning approached, Mark found himself standing at the edge of an abyss. His world, once a sanctuary of tranquility, now teetered on the precipice of a cosmic nightmare. Yet, amid the cacophony of dread, there was a quiet resolve in his heart, a light refusing to be extinguished by the looming darkness. The labyrinth beneath the shelter was not only a sanctum of the cult, but also the center of the cosmic entity's influence. He knew he had to sever this connection, break the chain of despair that fed the monstrous deity. It was a feat easier conceived than executed, but his spirit, hardened by a personal history of trauma and loss, remained undeterred. With the vestiges of the day fading into twilight, he descended into the labyrinth. The journey was as much a physical ordeal as it was a mental one. The narrow tunnels echoed with whispers of eldritch terror, shadows coiling around him like ethereal serpents, their hisses painting grotesque images of a world consumed by the entity. At the heart of the labyrinth, he found Agnes and the cultists, engaged in their unholy ritual. The room throbbed with a palpable dread, an ominous hymn resonating in the dim light, its monstrous harmony reaching out to the depths of the cosmos. The cultists, lost in their frenzied devotion, failed to notice him. He moved towards Agnes, the lifeline of sanity in the sea of madness. His heart pounded against his ribs as he gently unbound her, her frightened eyes reflecting gratitude. Yet his battle was far from over. He could feel the cosmic entity's influence intensifying, the room vibrating with its anticipation of the Feast of Fear. He had to disrupt the ritual, sever the link feeding the entity. With a surge of courage, he plunged into action. He toppled the central altar, the impact sending shockwaves through the room. The cultists reeled, their chanting interrupted, their trance broken. The room plunged into chaos, the entity's connection momentarily severed. In the ensuing pandemonium, Mark ushered Agnes towards the exit. Fear was their relentless pursuer, snapping at their heels. Yet his determination was an indomitable force. As they emerged from the labyrinth, the quiet of the night embraced them, a stark contrast to the madness they'd left behind. The cosmic entity, deprived of its nourishment, receded into the shadows, its ominous presence fading from the realm of human perception. Yet victory came with a price. The horrors he had faced left scars on his psyche, the images of eldritch terror forever etched in his memory. His world, the quaint town of Brookside, would never be the same. Yet amid the lingering dread, there was a triumph of humanity over cosmic dread, of empathy over fear, of light over the consuming darkness. In the aftermath, as dawn painted the sky with hopeful hues, Mark stood alone, the weight of his ordeal pressing down on him. Yet there was a softness in his gaze as it fell on the shelter, now free of its horrifying secret. The battle was won. The cosmic entity held at bay. The town of Brookside saved from a fate worse than annihilation. And it was him who had shown a light into the abyss, piercing the heart of cosmic horror with his unyielding humanity. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like it and subscribe to our channel, where you can find more similar stories, and click on the bell icon to never miss one. There is plenty more cosmic horror to come from the Eldritch Tales Factory. Stay tuned, and until next time.